Black women can't catch a break. If you have standards, you're called difficult and non-feminine. If you have degrees, you're told you'll die alone and you can't be taken seriously as a wife. And if you respect yourself and ask for respect, you'll ultimately be deemed angry and ghetto. For decades, Black women have been molded throughout history to be strong, smart, and confident, especially through the transatlantic slave trade, through the Reconstruction era, civil rights, Jim Crow, even to now. The Black men are supposed to be the people, the men who protect and nurture, to defend Black women, the same women who take care, nurture, and raise our children. But now the media, along with what I will refer to as the lineage of evil, have used Black women's image, for lack of a better term, as a weapon against not only Black men and women, but the community as a whole, to conquer and divide us. The problem is bigger than just dating. It's about a generation of people, not just man or woman, have learned to mistake truth with trauma, cruelty, and stereotypes. Roughly about 6 to 7 years ago, a digital world known as the manosphere exploded. Podcasts like Fresh and Fit, if you're not familiar, Kevin Samuels, you may know that, maybe. If you do, then okay. They began to dominate platforms like YouTube, probably Snapchat, definitely Twitter and Instagram, selling themselves as self-improvement specifically for men, men's health, to help modern masculinity. But behind those flashy thumbnails, behind the obvious random woman who didn't understand how to properly defend herself intellectually against the play, behind all of the mirrors per se, the business model couldn't be simpler. Create chaos and profit from division and pushing misogyny. The broadcasts were and still are packaged as debates. Yet when you look at them closer, when you actually watch them, like I have, you then begin to wake up and see that this is just public humiliation. Women who obviously have explicit backgrounds, OnlyFans models, X-rated professional, you know who I'm talking about, who are not really knowledgeable in the socio-political ethics and debates and talking points that Fresh and Fit or Kevin Samuels or somebody like them do. Cooley, whatever his name is, some guys like them. These women are invited to these podcasts, to these Zooms, to whatever, and they are positioned to be basically living pinata, make the guys seem like they're schooling the girl that just doesn't know and just is prone to promiscuous behavior. It makes you feel that the women that are coming on there are subhuman or animalistic in nature, when in reality these women just weren't prepared to have to come on a platform where they would be shamed for their life situation and for what they were raised up on. But Fresh and Fit specifically, because they're pieces of garbage, said they don't dibble and dabble in the black and the dark, and they don't go for women named Shaniqua. It just goes to show you that, I mean, what are we talking about? It not only showed that they were plain just racist with that, and that they were already pieces of garbage, but with their fan base with over millions of subscribers, all that's telling people outside of the community and inside who are watching is that it's not appropriate to be with a black woman. And the worst thing is, Fresh and Fit are both black men. Fresh, Myron is like I don't know, he's like Middle Eastern mixed with black, and then Fresh is just charcoal, Virgin Islands, something like that. So it's friendly fire. How are the black women supposed to defend themselves from us? By 2025, their channel had 238 million views. Alone, the population in the United States is 400 million. They had over half. That was by this year. They're still posting, so it's probably beyond that. This only proves that public degradation, public humiliation of black women has become a form of entertainment enjoyed by white, black, and all other races. Not just men, but the women too, and even the children. Kevin Samuels presented this picture and pioneered this tone where he would talk about the reality of a situation, being a high value man, high value woman, this, that, and third. But his message rarely was about personal growth and more just about roasting random people who called into his show to be fun and really to humiliate women, black women specifically, I guess presenting them as them being shallow, money hungry, promiscuous, out of shape, all of those types of things. But after his death, pretty much most people with a brain understood that all his channel was about was creating division and one man who had his own opinion trying to force his views on other men and successfully doing it, proving that men in general, but especially black men, do need more positive role models, and we need people other than just athletes and rappers to look up to, because they're not role models. They say it all the time, so that just proves that. And basically the premise of his channel was for it to be the 1950s and for women to basically do wifely duties, stay in the house all day while the man does everything, which maybe to his sympathizers they think is appropriate, but don't actually look into the actual meat and potatoes of what that would actually entail mentally for both parties. And the worst and most ridiculous part is that his teaching spread and he birthed thousands of new channels in rhetoric and millions of other spaces like Reddit, Tumblr, Twitter, now X, Instagram. His little viewpoints intoxicated the entire internet. The formula was very plain and easy to understand. You gotta dress up misogyny as masculinity, sell insecurity and immaturity as empowerment, and position women, especially black women, the cultural decline to society in general. All of this has done the description, as you can go to the Berkeley Journal. I have all my sources linked. The Berkeley Journal analysis put it plainly in saying that this content redirects rage at white supremacy into internalized racism and sexism, teaching black men that domination, discrimination, and abstinence is easier than healing, finding true connection and communication, and proper channels in finding love and friendship. Berkeley was cooking. But let's say if you didn't know that. Let's say you never heard that, and let's say you never hear that ever. If you spend enough time online like me, then it's clear that these guys aren't talking to women most of the time. In fact, most of the time they are avoiding talking to women because they know they're gonna get served and sound like a goof. They're talking around and behind women. They're usually one guy sitting in a room like me talking about women do this and do that, especially black women, how they're unruly and blah, 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 blah. They construct the image of womanhood that only exists in echo chambers and their shriveled up communities of scorned men. And the only reason that these, I guess you can say, communities exist is simply because all these guys who are owning the channels are doing is just feeding into the scorn of these black men who dealt with a couple black women who they had nothing in common with. They just thought they were pretty, and then when it fell apart because they had nothing in common and they didn't actually try to get to know each other in the proper way, through friendship, through building connection, they're mad because they didn't get to smash. But the algorithm awards this behavior on every site. They love it. Podcasts humiliate women and they outperform those who humanize them. I mean, I'm sure this video isn't gonna get a lot of buzz at all because I'm actually trying to be different. To men, it's often seen who consume this content as informative entertainment projected through ring lights and studio mics of highly performative men compensate with beating short or trying to use money to trick. Behind every viral clip, behind all of the quieter truth, is simply that many of these men aren't searching for understanding. They are searching to take advantage of God and their trauma, and they're taking advantage of the men financially and of the women physically, emotionally, and mentally. It hurts both sides, and all this does is line their pockets, just like the government. Part of this issue is a cultural hypnosis. That's what I like to color. For decades, the mainstream media has, given this dominant picture of what they've given this picture of what a black woman, the loud, hypersexual, urban archetype. Hood chick, ghetto, blah blah blah. You see them all the time. I mean, you could watch a show from Great Britain to Turkey to Italy to the United States, and you're always gonna see if the girl is black, she's twerking or she doing something that's perceived as ghetto. It doesn't matter. They all repeat the same visual language, the same archetype, the same type of person, the same athletic, nice looking, slim, thick body, the long nails, the baby hair edges, the designer bags, the cropped up. That's what they think all black women consist of, unfortunately. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that style. I've dated people who were in that type of style. It didn't mean that they were themselves ghetto or anything, but they had that type of style. And some of them were actually really decent people on the inside. When it comes to being celebrated as a style, it boxes people in. And the lineage of evil wants us to be boxed into one tiny box. That's why Dylan Square Me is here, so I can bring y'all outside of the box, and I'll be the one that's inside. It doesn't help the fact that celebrity, you got Ice Spice, just a plethora of black women who are Beyonce, Megan Fox. I may be tripping. Even Meghan Markle, and she's a princess. And all the time they're being presented as ghetto. Unfortunately, even though a lot of these celebrities are not good role models, they often have very incongruent and just messy lives in general, with a lot of controversy, and a lot of them, like Diddy, have a lot of dirt in their closet, including skeletons and baby oil. The unfortunate reality is that these people are who other nations and the other people in this specific nation see, because a lot of people don't just talk to black people all the time. There's millions of people who've probably never seen or spoken in real life to a black man or woman. And this media is the only thing that they're gonna get. And if that's all they see, then you can imagine what they're thinking. Black women are just fine being who they are. And realistically, black men don't just only want, hate, or ignore the urban black woman. It's that it's not the only type of black woman there is. And that's the biggest problem. There's punk rock girls, nerdy girls, girls who like video games, girls who like sports. They like DIY, they like building things, they like going outside, nature girl. There's plenty of black women who are different, just like in any race. There's so many individuals. There's like 8 billion people on this planet. In this country alone, black people make like 20-something% of the population. There's plenty of black women who have different likes and different wants. We're comparing a small minority to the large, quiet majority. These podcasts, though, I'm gonna go back to these. They have made it a culture war of good women versus bad women and men versus women, which simply only exists on the internet. And in the real world, we're worried about making sure we eat, poop, take a shower, get paid, be able to go to sleep, be safe. We don't worry about, these women were doing this, that, and then these men were. We're not worried about none of that. We're worried about surviving, living, and being comfortable. And the pure essence of why there's this, I guess you could say, division of black men and women is one word that most guys have heard 1 billion times. Every man since Adam to now heard this word: rejection. The modern dating market has made it absolutely impossible to figure out whether or not a person is genuine or not. It's made it basically a cash grab for themselves to use dating apps and other types of things in order to monetize our desire to want to find connection as human beings. It's sickening, yes. Black men have often felt unseen, been emasculated, humiliated, and just misunderstood by all races, and they feel the same way with black women. A lot of men feel like they never were in congruency. They never had the same goals, the same aspirations, the same likes. And it's like, it's a disconnect. And black women, on the other hand, are exhausted of double standards, and they push back hard because they don't want to be taken advantage of. And they also don't want to just be with anybody. If you're going to be with somebody, you want to be with somebody who you want, you cherish, you enjoy being with, because that's what makes a connection. In essence, the only way I can see us breaking the pattern is black men have to unlearn what they've been taught to desire. The urban ghetto chick isn't the only one that's out there. They're there. You can get them, and they'll be just as good a wife as any other woman on this planet. They gotta like you. If they don't like you, then you're losing the plot. The goal isn't to not like city-bred, confident, stylish women who got a little bit of spice. Nothing wrong with that. I love women with spice, you know what I'm saying? And if that's who I ended up with, I wouldn't mind. But it's time to stop equating these traits with the entire general population of black women, because that's just not the case. And it's so bad that a lot of black women end up being fetishized, like the nerdy girls, like the girls who like sports. They get fetishized simply because black men have only been taught to like one thing for so much and so long, that it's like, oh my gosh, this is like a Pokemon. It's like a piece of gold in the middle of the road in the street. Like it's something that is unheard of, when it really is normal. We gotta stop going for the same thing every time and then be disappointed when it doesn't work out. Why do you think restaurants are some of the most popular places for a human to go? Yes, it's for the food, but it's because there's a selection of food, and you can pick what out of the selection you want to eat. And then you go to the specific restaurant that has the food you want, and then you can get the selection from that menu. It's the same thing with dating or just building connection. And you can't go to where a urban, for lack of a better term, ghetto chick is and expect to find a nerdy girl who likes to play football. You gotta go to the right spaces, you gotta be in the right areas, and you gotta find the right people. And this goes both ways. Black women cannot be going for the same type of guy, the same athlete, the same rapper, the same guys who have proven that they will fold under the pressure, they will end up cheating, they might end up hurting you physically and being abusive. You gotta see the signs, and if there are no signs, you have to be very cautious. Both sides have to be cautious, and both sides have to take better care in themselves and finding somebody who, when they're old, will take care of them. Healing does not live in podcasts or sound bites or YouTube videos. I'm not here to heal. I'm here to just tell it like it is. It starts in the private session, without being rude, without demeaning somebody, without calling them a stupid name. All major wars and conflicts, World War I, World War II, among other wars, why did they end? They ended because of communication and common ground. They realized, okay, this is stupid. We need to figure out an agreement so we can stop the bloodshed. That takes communication and world leaders and governments talking to each other in order to find a way to stop and cease the violence. It's the same thing in real life and with building connections and relationships, especially in the black community. We often too much use violence, not to sound, racial. We often use not physical violence. We call guys suckers, and we call girls gold diggers and other things, and that's not how it's gonna work. Shouting at each other isn't, it has never worked, it's still not working. We gotta communicate and give the truth. This is your problem, and let's fix it. Black women have inherited centuries of invisibility, expectation, as well as destruction. Both are carrying hundreds of years, probably thousands of years of trauma and pain. The difference is that what this Gen Z and generations now have different from older generations who didn't have these specific problems at this degree, is because we're now projecting our wounds upon each other. We're taking out our pain on each other. That's exactly what the lineage of evil wants. Black manosphere may claim it's about improving men, but improvement without empathy is simply ego in disguise. It builds followers, but there's nothing revolutionary about tearing your own people down, especially the women who are bearing the brunt of raising our children. Real leadership is if we asked, hey, hold on, what if we stop performing this painful cycle for profit and started practicing peace and trying to actually get down to the real problems? What if black men stopped competing with the women and started protecting both of our dignity? Not out of obligation, but simply because black men and women were made for each other. We love each other. Sometimes we can't stand each other, but we're all we got because the rest of the world isn't for us. So we got to be for it. And maybe once we stop seeing each other through stereotypes, through, bigotry, through what the lineage of evil wants us to see us as, we'll finally remember how easy and how awesome black love and black women really are. Not problems, but people. Our people. That's going to end the video. This is Dylan Square signing out. Like, comment, subscribe.